Hi, it's Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Michelle. I make videos about books. Please hit the subscribe button. It really helps my channel grow. This is a vlog that I'm doing with my friend Aoife from Pretty Purple Polka Dots. I will have her channel and her video down below. But the concept of this is that we are each giving each other 3 of our own 5-star reads to see if they will also give that book 5 stars. So I'm just gonna go over the books that Aoife gave me and then we will go into the vlog. So Aoife gave me 2 YA books, which I am very interested in. I figured she would give me all contemporary romance that I just haven't gotten to yet, but she didn't. She gave me YA, which is interesting, so we'll see. But the first one is Noughts and Crosses. I had never heard of this. This apparently came out in 2005, which is, I was not reading in 2005, so I've not heard of this. I know nothing about this, nothing. I looked into it, and it looks like it could be a Romeo and Juliet retelling, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm not excited about this. The next one is Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. This actually came out last year in 2022 in the UK, and it's coming out in July in the United States, so I'm reading an arc of this. I once again know nothing about this. I haven't looked at reviews or anything, so I don't even know what genre this is. So also, I have to read this physically, which I just know is going to take me a long time, and I'm putting this off so badly. And the last book is Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. Louise O'Neill is the only author of these 3 that I have read from before. I read her adult book from last year called Idol, and I absolutely love that book. I gave it 5 stars, so I'm really interested in Asking for It. This has actually been on my list for a very long time, and I have just never gotten to it. I was especially interested in this back when I was primarily reading YA, but once again, just never got to it. So these are the 3 books that Aoife has given 5 stars, and she also thinks that I will give 5 stars. So we're gonna go straight into the vlog to see how this will go. I really don't know. First of all, I'm scared because 2 out of 3 of these are YA, and I don't think I have read a YA book this year. Or if I did, I haven't liked it. I cannot remember it for the life of me. So we will see. Roll the vlog. I am 28% into Noughts and Crosses. We are following a world where it is divided by race, and the knots are white and they are the lower class, and the crosses are black and they are the higher class. And we're following these 2 friends. They've always been friends since childhood, and now they might have a relationship going, but it's hard for them to be together because one is a knot and one is a cross. So it's basically a little dystopian and also Romeo and Juliet. I don't think I'm liking it. It could definitely be because it's YA, but this book has such high ratings, and I've never heard of it until Aoife gave it to me. But so far, my first impression is I'm not really liking it. I'm liking, obviously, the social commentary, which I always like books like that, where okay, so the big thing is maybe this romance, but the underlying stuff is real world stuff, which in this case is racism and classism. So I am liking that, but I'm not really liking these main characters. And it could, like I said, it could be because it's YA. I'm listening to the audiobook, and the narrators are literally whining. And I don't know if it's to portray that they are so young or what, but it's very off-putting, and it just reminds me why, as a almost 33-year-old, I have grown out of YA. When you're seeing this, I'm 33. So I have grown out of YA. So it's kind of surprising that Aoife gave me this book, but she gave it 5 stars 2 years ago. So like, I don't really know if 2023 Aoife would still give it 5 stars based off who I know she is as a person now. So we'll see. That's what's happening in this book. I made it 35% into noughts and crosses, and I'm gonna have to DNF it. I can't do it. I can't do the writing. I can't do the audiobook. I like what this book is trying to say, but I can't get past the main characters, and which is another reason I don't read YA anymore. I don't know. I feel like 3 years ago, Michelle would have probably loved this book, but now that I am almost like, I haven't read a YA book this year, I don't think. So it's not the book for me. I was looking at a lot of reviews. I was looking at 5-star reviews, and I was looking at 2-star reviews, and that's usually what I do when I DNF, because I like to see both perspectives. And a lot of the 2-star reviews had to do with the character work and the writing. And that's where I am. But then a lot of the 5-star reviews are just like, this world is so complicated, but it's literally our world. And I'm like, I get that. But the thing for me and my reading is I read for enjoyment only. And I was not enjoying myself. I couldn't get over the whiny audiobook. I couldn't get over the very immature main characters, and literally they're immature because they're teenagers, and I get that, but that is no longer what I want to read. So unfortunately, this just did not work for me, and so I'm DNFing it 35% in. So Aoife gave this to me because she gave it 5 stars, but I'm DNFing it. So that's interesting. I am 23% into Strange Sally Diamond by Liz Nugent. So everything I want to talk about is a spoiler, but we start the book with Sally's father dying, and he joked with her for Sally when he dies to just take him out with the trash. So that's what she does, and she like burns him, cremates him, but not very well. So then the police come, and she's kind of under investigation for her father's death. And that's how the book starts. This book is so good. We find out that Sally is adopted, and I have just come to the part where her father has left her letters explaining everything, like the funeral, what to do with her life now. She's currently 43. And then what happened to her before she was adopted. So I just found out what happened to her before she was adopted. This is giving me Eleanor Oliphant vibes. And I really, really, really liked that book. Like, top tier book for me. And this book is giving me those vibes. So it is extremely good, and everything I want to talk about I can't talk about, but I just found out what happened to Sally before she was adopted, so anywhere from when she was born to 7, and it is intense. This book is so good, and she's about to be pushed into the national spotlight again, and it's just a very good book. It feels like a literary thriller, if that makes sense. But I'm absolutely loving this. And the worst part about this is that this book doesn't come out in the US until July. So I have no one to talk about it with except for Aoife. And I can't talk about it with Aoife because we're keeping our ratings a secret from each other. And she's the only other person I know who has read this. And I can't talk about it with anyone. So that's literally the worst part of this, is that I want to talk about it with Aoife and I can't. So anyway, I'm obsessed with this. So I am 50% into Strange Sally Diamond, and I am obsessed with this book right now. I am considering this the best book I've read this year, and I'm only 50% into it, so like, it could change because endings are really important to me. But I do think I have figured out what's going on. And I try not to do that when I do thrillers or mysteries, but I don't know, I just like, it feels obvious to me, which is like not a bad thing, but that's, anyway, shut up. Okay, so what I came here to say is that Aoife gave me this book because she gave it 5 stars, and this does not feel like an Aoife book at all. This is what I came here to say. Aoife, when I think of Aoife, I think contemporary romance, rom-coms, a little bit of literary fiction. This is a thriller, and it is disturbing. This is some of the most disturbing shit that I have read this year in a while. Like, it's it's really disgusting, and this just doesn't seem like an Aoife book. It seems like a Michelle book. It seems like a Lexi book. It seems like those kind of books, but this does not seem like an Aoife book, which is really interesting to me that she gave it 5 stars. But like, I also feel like I'm gonna give it 5 stars. It just doesn't seem like a book for her. So interesting, but I'm obsessed with it. My coffee cup is literally holding up my phone. So if this falls, that's why. I just finished Strange Sally Diamond. It took me so long to read this. Let me go through the process of this book. I was not excited to read this book because there was no audiobook, because it's an arc for me, because it comes out in July in the United States. So I was mad that I had to read it physically because I'm lazy and I just prefer audiobooks. But absolutely love this book. This is, I think I talked in my very first clip, this reminded me of Eleanor Oliphant, but it is absolutely Eleanor Oliphant and the book Room together, and that is as much like spoilery I'm going to get into it. And like, I went in completely not knowing anything, and I feel like that is the way to go with this one. Don't go in knowing anything. So I just finished it. There were several things that happened towards the end that like I had to put my Kindle down and like stare off into space, because what was happening was so heartbreaking. Like, I personally could not deal. And normally, like, when I read thrillers, you know, I listen to them at 3 times speed, so, you know, I have to process things a lot faster. There's no stopping. And I think reading it on my Kindle and going slow, so slow, I was able to like process what was happening more, because I could take breaks and be like, that was fucked up. It was so fucked up. The ending, I can tell you that the ending, the book starts in the 70s. The book starts in the 70s, and we go all the way up to the beginning of COVID, which I thought was really interesting. The ending with Sally wasn't my favorite. I hated what happened to her after all the progress that she made. And I feel like maybe it was because of COVID, she went back and regressed, which I think is really sad. And I hope it's fiction, but like, it's 2023 now. I hope she's okay. This book was so like, there we go. I'm gonna keep that in. This book was very intricate in that there were a ton of characters, but there were like 3 main characters, and the main character was Sally, but she had other characters that were kind of just as important as she was, and like everybody was fucked up. I just really liked this book, and this is my favorite book of the year so far, and it hasn't even come out yet. It's not out yet, and I absolutely love this book. It is just so fucked up, but I think it's because I gave 5 stars to Eleanor Oliphant and I gave 5 stars to Room, and this is a mix of those 2 books in like the most fucked up way. So 5 stars for Strange Sally Diamond. I would like to reiterate that this does not seem like an Aoife book. So I went back and I, you know, marked this down as read, but I didn't put my star rating because she could see it. But she just gave it 5 stars, but this does not seem like an Aoife book at all. I am 100% confused as to why she read this, other than it's an Irish author, and I know that she really likes to read Irish authors. But this is dark. This is the darkest thing I've read this year. So 5 stars for Strange Sally Diamond. The next book is Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. I have read one book by Louise O'Neill. It's actually a book that me and Aoife read together, but this is a YA book. It used to be on my radar. I never got to it, and I just figured I'd never get to it because I'm no longer into YA, but we'll see how it goes. I know it's another like deep cut, so we'll see. I am over 60% into Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. We are following Emily, one of those two names, and she is in school, what would be equivalent to high school. She just turned 18. She went to this party with her friends, and this guy spiked her drink and raped her. There are now pictures on Facebook of her being raped, and you can see that she is completely out of it. And this actually reminds me of a real case that was put in a documentary called Audrey and Daisy, and that came out in 2016, where Audrey was raped, and there were pictures taken of her, which were then uploaded to the internet, and Audrey later killed herself. So it's giving me very much those kind of vibes, and this is an incredibly hard read. And this would have been one of my favorite books ever if I had probably read this back in 2018 when I was exclusively reading YA. But right now, all I can think about is like all of the catfighting. Like I would never go back to being a teenager. Like I would go back to being a kid. I would go back to being like adolescent. I would go back maybe even to my 20s, even though they were awful, but I would never go back to being a teenager. So it's just like putting me in the mindset of that, which I don't really like, but it does remind me a lot of the Audrey case, which is incredibly, incredibly sad. So that's where I am now. The photos have leaked. She has talked to what would be equivalent to like the principal, who was also very worried about her because the principal even said, "You look out of it in these pictures." And Emma or Emily is like, "No, I was pretending to sleep." Like, I am unsure why she isn't coming forward at this point in time and saying, yes, I don't remember any of this. Because, I mean, she has to be terrified, right? So I'm just wondering, like, what her thought process is, why she isn't coming forward and being like, yes, I was raped. But I don't know. So I've gotten to the part where one of her friends was like, oh yeah, she was asking for it. Did you see what she was wearing at the party? So we will see. I'm liking it. I'm just not loving it. And it's probably because I'm 33 now. And yeah, I finished Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. I think if Michelle of 7 years ago had read this would have been my favorite book ever. But being as it's not, and I've moved away from YA, I'm gonna give this 3 stars. And the parents are a big reason for this. I actually moved away from YA after I became a parent myself because I could not stand the parents in YA, and I totally blame that on all the authors. Like, not every parent has to be completely awful. Like, there has to be a silver lining of bad parenting and some good parenting in YA, and I have yet to find that. Like, dead parents, absent parents, horrible parents that don't support their children. Like, I've read it all, and I have not read one where it's just like supportive parents all the way through. So I felt this way about Asking for It. The parents blamed her for getting raped. So I obviously had an issue with that. She dealt a lot in therapy. She she was gonna charge the several men who raped her, and because her parents were so mad about her getting raped, she decided to forego the charges. And I just, like, as a parent, don't get it. That's why I no longer read YA, because I could never, as a parent, blame someone for something that happened to them. Anyway, so I'm gonna give Asking for It 3 stars. So let's recap, shall we? Noughts and Crosses was also YA. It was a Romeo and Juliet retelling, and I did not like it. I DNF'd this one very early on, and I think I said almost the same thing, that if I had read this several years ago, I probably really would have liked it. I just don't like YA anymore. And that's not on YA, that's on me for being 33. Okay? I'm not shitting on YA. I'm not. But Strange Sally Diamond was 5 stars, and that's because it was an adult thriller, and I really, really liked it. It's my best book of the year right now. I absolutely love it. It's going to, unfortunately, I think, be a very quiet book here in the United States, but I absolutely love this book. I loved everything about this book. I finished it yesterday, and I'm still thinking about the ending. Just, like, I can't decide if I absolutely love the ending or if I absolutely hate the ending, and I think that's what makes a good ending, to be quite honest with you. And then I just finished Asking for It by Louise O'Neill. I think I would keep reading from Louise O'Neill because I really did like Idol, but I wouldn't go back to her YA stuff. So this was the Aoife project. What we did was she gave me 5 of her 5 stars to see if I would also give them 5 star, and I only gave one of them 5 star. And I just think if she hadn't given me 2 YA novels, I just probably would have gone better. Like, but also a lot of people still associate me with YA, so like I absolutely understand that. Like, why not give Michelle some YA when she used to be absolutely obsessed with it? Like, I get it. So this is the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Please go check out Aoife's video as well. I can only remember 2 books that I gave her, so I'm gonna need to go watch that as well. It's linked down below. But thanks for watching my video. See you in my next one. Bye.
Losing time, I'm fading fast.